She cancels on you again, third time this month. Always with the same script. Something came up, work got crazy. My friend needs me. Meanwhile, you're sitting at the restaurant you booked checking your phone, like a fool, wondering what you did wrong. But here's what really burns. You know she wouldn't dare treat her boss this way. She wouldn't cancel on her career opportunity, her important clients, or even her girlfriends with such casual disrespect. Yet somehow, you've become the person she can disappoint without consequence, the man she can reschedule without explanation, the king who's been demoted to court jester. You've been relegated to the margins of her life, while convincing yourself that understanding and patience will eventually earn you the throne. But tonight, that delusion dies. Tonight you discover why some men are treated like kings, while others are treated like servants. Why some men's time is sacred, while others' time is expendable, and most importantly, how to transform from the man she takes for granted into the man she can't afford to lose. Every woman carries an invisible ranking system in her mind. It's not conscious, not calculated, but it's absolutely real. At the top of this hierarchy sit the people she cannot afford to disappoint: her boss who controls her paycheck, her best friend who knows all her secrets, her family who raised her mentor who shapes her future. At the bottom sit the people she can disappoint without consequence. The nice guy who always understands the patient man, who never complains, the accommodating soul who rearranges his entire schedule around her whims. These are the people whose feelings she can hurt without losing anything valuable in return. The brutal truth is this: you've been training her to place you at the bottom of this hierarchy. Every time you accept her last-minute changes without consequence, every time you smile through her disrespect, every time you prioritize her comfort over your own dignity, you're teaching her that your time has no value, your feelings don't matter, and your presence is dispensable. Kings don't exist at the bottom of hierarchies. They create their own hierarchy, and everyone else arranges themselves accordingly. The transformation begins when you stop trying to climb her ladder and start building your own throne. In the marketplace of human attention, you've been operating like a discount store while she's shopping at luxury boutiques. You're offering premium attention at bargain prices, high-quality time, with no quality standards and exclusive access to a non-exclusive man. Think about it when something is always available, always discounted, always accommodating your schedule. How much do you value it? When a restaurant never requires reservations, never has a wait list, always has empty tables, what does that tell you about its desirability? When a man is always free when she calls, always understanding when she cancels, always ready to rearrange his life around her convenience, what does that communicate about his worth? You've been functioning as a 24-hour convenience store in her life, while she's been operating as a 5-star restaurant in yours. She has operating hours, dress codes, reservation requirements, and waiting lists. You have an open door policy, and a customer is always right mentality. The value exchange is catastrophically imbalanced. Kings don't have open door policies. They have audiences. They don't have availability, they grant access. They don't accommodate schedules, they set them. The economic principle is simple. Scarcity creates value. Abundance destroys it. You've been abundant when you should have been scarce. Here's what no relationship expert will tell you. Women don't fall in love with men who chase them. They fall in love with men they have to chase. The act of pursuit creates emotional investment, and emotional investment creates attachment. When you do all the pursuing, she does none of the investing. Every text you send first, every plan you initiate, every effort you make to connect, removes a layer of her investment while adding a layer to yours. You're building an emotional debt that only goes one direction. She becomes the creditor of affection, while you become the debtor of attention. The woman who has to work for your time, who has to earn your attention, who has to prove her worth to gain your interest, becomes psychologically invested in the outcome. She starts wondering what makes you different from other men. She begins questioning why you're not as available as everyone else. She develops curiosity about what you're doing when you're not with her. This isn't manipulation, it's human psychology. People value what they work for and dismiss what comes easily. The job you had to interview for multiple times feels more prestigious than the one handed to you. The university that rejected you twice before accepting you feels more valuable than the one who makes himself constantly available. Most men approach women like desperate actors auditioning for a role they're not sure they want. They perform, they please, they accommodate, they audition endlessly for the part of boyfriend in her life's production. But kings don't audition, they cast. The transformation begins when you stop performing for her approval and start evaluating her performance for your acceptance. Instead of asking, how can I make her like me more? You start asking, does her behaviour meet my standards? Instead of wondering, what does she want from me? You start determining, what do I require from her? This shift in perspective is revolutionary because it changes the entire dynamic. Suddenly, you're not the one being evaluated. You're the one doing the evaluating. You're not the one trying to measure up. You're the one setting the measuring stick. You're not the audience for her performance. You're the director of your own production. The woman who's accustomed to men seeking her approval suddenly encounters a man whose approval she must seek. The woman who's used to being pursued finds herself in the unfamiliar position of doing the pursuing. The woman who's comfortable being the prize discovers that she's competing for one. Your presence has become wallpaper in her life, so constant, so expected, so unremarkable that she's stopped noticing it entirely. You've made yourself so available that your availability has become invisible. The cure isn't more presence, it's strategic absence. But this isn't about playing games or manipulative tactics. This is about reclaiming the mathematical reality of your own worth. If you're always there, you're never missed. If you're never missed, you're never valued. If you're never valued, you're never treated with respect. Strategic absence creates what psychologists call the contrast effect. Just as you don't appreciate light until you've experienced darkness, she can't appreciate your presence until she's experienced your absence. The space you create by not being constantly available becomes filled with her thoughts about you. When you're not immediately responding to her texts, she starts wondering what you're doing. When you're not always free for her last-minute plans, she starts planning ahead to secure your time. When you're not constantly validating her, she starts seeking that validation more actively. Your absence creates a vacuum that draws her attention toward you, rather than away from you. Kings rule territories. They don't visit them, they govern them. They don't ask permission to make decisions, they make decisions and expect compliance. They don't negotiate their worth, they demonstrate it through their actions and expect recognition through others' behaviour. You've been functioning as a tourist in your own life, seeking permission to exist in her world rather than requiring her to earn citizenship in yours. You've been asking for what you should be commanding, requesting what you should be expecting, hoping for what you should be demanding. Sovereignty means establishing your own kingdom with its own rules, standards, and expectations. It means creating a life so fulfilling, so purposeful, so magnetic that others seek entry rather than granting it. It means becoming the prize rather than competing for one. When a woman encounters a truly sovereign man, her entire approach changes. She can't use the same tactics that work on other men because sovereign men don't respond to manipulation, guilt, or emotional blackmail. They respond to value, respect, and genuine interest. They reward good behaviour and withdraw attention from bad behaviour. They operate from abundance rather than scarcity. Every relationship is a mirror that reflects your beliefs about your own value back to you. If you believe you're lucky to have her attention, she'll treat your attention as dispensable. If you believe she's doing you a favour by spending time with you, she'll treat your time as worthless. If you believe you need to earn her respect, she'll believe she doesn't need to give it. The woman who treats you like a servant is simply reflecting your own internal programming back to you. She's not creating your low status. She's responding to the low status you've already assigned yourself. She's not determining your worth. She's measuring the worth you've already determined for yourself. The transformation happens when you change the reflection you're projecting. When you start believing you're the prize, she starts competing for it. When you start treating your time as valuable, she starts valuing it. When you start expecting respect, she starts giving it. This isn't about arrogance or superiority. This is about accurate self-assessment. You are valuable. Your time is precious. Your attention is a gift. Your presence is a privilege. When you start operating from this reality, others start responding to this reality. If you're beginning to see how your own internal programming has been creating the treatment you receive, make sure to subscribe to this channel for more insights into the psychology of attraction and respect. Hit that notification bell, because understanding these patterns is the first step to transforming them. Every relationship operates on an investment model. Time, attention, emotion, and energy flow in both directions, and the balance of this flow determines the power dynamic. You've been operating as a high-yield savings account for her emotional needs, while treating yourself as a zero-interest checking account for your own. She makes withdrawals from your attention bank whenever she needs validation, support, or entertainment, but she rarely makes deposits. You're constantly investing in her emotional portfolio while your own account remains underfunded. This creates a relationship economy where she's wealthy in attention and you're impoverished in respect. The correction requires rebalancing the investment equation. You must become as selective about where you invest your emotional energy as she is about where she invests hers. You must require deposits before allowing withdrawals. You must operate from abundance rather than scarcity. When she texts you at midnight because she's bored, that's a withdrawal request. When she cancels your plans to spend time with friends, that's a withdrawal. When she expects you to be available for her drama but unavailable for your own priorities, that's a massive withdrawal. The question is, what deposits has she made to justify these withdrawals? Women are validation-seeking creatures by nature. They need to know they're desired, appreciated, valued, and chosen. Most men supply this validation freely, abundantly, without requirement for reciprocal behaviour. You've been operating as a validation vending machine. Insert sob story, receive sympathy, insert drama, receive attention, insert disrespect, receive understanding. The transformation happens when you become selective about your validation distribution. Validation becomes a reward for good behaviour rather than a response to poor behaviour. Attention becomes something she earns rather than something she expects. Sympathy becomes contingent on respect rather than automatic upon request. This creates what psychologists call intermittent reinforcement, the most powerful form of behavioural conditioning known to science. When validation comes unpredictably, based on performance rather than presence, it becomes exponentially more valuable and sought after. The woman who receives constant validation regardless of her behaviour has no incentive to improve that behaviour. The woman who receives validation based on how well she treats you has every incentive to treat you better. You're not withholding love, you're conditioning respect. Kings don't lower their standards to accommodate poor behaviour. They maintain their standards and require others to rise to meet them. You've been operating as a limbo bar, constantly lowering your expectations to accommodate her declining performance. Every time you accept less, you teach her to give less. Standards aren't punishments, they're protections. They protect your time from being wasted, your energy from being drained, and your dignity from being compromised. They communicate your value more clearly than words ever could. They separate those who respect you from those who use you. The woman who encounters a man with uncompromising standards has two choices: meet them or move on. Those who move on were never suitable partners anyway. Those who choose to meet them demonstrate their genuine interest in earning your respect rather than exploiting your tolerance. Setting standards isn't about being difficult. It's about being selective. It's not about being unreasonable. It's about being self-respecting. It's not about controlling her behaviour. It's about controlling your own responses to her behaviour. Conduct an honest audit of your emotional energy expenditure. How much mental bandwidth do you spend thinking about her compared to how much she spends thinking about you? How much effort do you put into planning your interactions compared to how much effort she contributes? How much accommodation do you provide compared to how much consideration you receive? The results of this audit will reveal the true nature of your relationship dynamic. If you're doing most of the emotional labour, most of the planning, most of the accommodating, and most of the understanding, you're not in a relationship. You're in a service arrangement where you're the unpaid employee. Kings don't work for free in their own kingdoms. They don't provide more value than they receive. They don't invest more energy than they attract. They operate from reciprocity rather than charity, from mutual benefit rather than one-sided service. The energy audit reveals where your boundaries have been violated, where your standards have been compromised, and where your value has been underestimated. It provides the data you need to restructure the relationship economy in your favour. The foundation of any healthy relationship is reciprocity, equal investment, mutual respect, balanced give and take. You've been operating from a charity model where you give unconditionally and she receives without reciprocation. This model creates dependency rather than attraction, obligation rather than desire. The reset requires establishing clear reciprocity requirements. If she wants your time, she must value it. If she wants your attention, she must earn it. If she wants your understanding, she must provide respect. If she wants your accommodation, she must offer consideration. This isn't about keeping score, it's about maintaining balance. It's not about tit-for-tat exchanges, It's about mutual investment. It's not about punishment. It's about self-preservation. You're not demanding more from her. You're requiring as much as you give. The woman who's accustomed to receiving without giving will initially resist this reset. She'll test your resolve, challenge your boundaries, and attempt to restore the previous imbalanced dynamic. Your consistency during this testing phase determines whether the reset succeeds or fails. You've been an open book in a world that values mystery novels. You've shared everything, revealed everything, made yourself completely transparent and entirely predictable. Predictability is the enemy of attraction, and you've made yourself the most predictable element in her life. Mystery creates fascination. When someone can't fully understand you, they become invested in figuring you out. When they can't predict your next move, they pay closer attention to your current moves. When they can't control your responses, they start modifying their actions to influence those responses. This doesn't mean being secretive or deceptive. It means being selective about what you reveal and when you reveal it. It means maintaining aspects of your life that are exclusively yours. It means preserving parts of your personality that she has to earn access to over time. The mysterious man isn't hiding who he is. He's revealing who he is gradually, deliberately, strategically. He understands that anticipation is more powerful than revelation, that questions are more intriguing than answers, that the unknown is more compelling than the familiar. Building your throne isn't about putting yourself above others, it's about refusing to put others above yourself. It's about creating a life so fulfilling that others want to be part of it, rather than trying to force your way into their lives. It's about becoming the main character in your own story rather than playing a supporting role in theirs. Your throne is built from purpose, passion, standards, boundaries, goals, dreams, and uncompromising self-respect. It's constructed from the recognition that you are the prize, your time is valuable, your attention is a gift, and your presence is a privilege. It's founded on the understanding that you don't need anyone's permission to live with dignity. When you occupy your throne with confidence and authenticity, others naturally arrange themselves in relation to your position. Some will seek to serve you, some will try to overthrow you, and some will simply admire you from a distance. The woman who's worthy of sharing your throne will recognize its value and work to earn her place beside it. The man who builds his own throne never has to beg for respect because respect flows naturally towards sovereignty. He never has to demand attention because attention gravitates toward authenticity. He never has to chase love because love pursues those who are complete without it. The treatment you receive is directly proportional to the treatment you require. If you require punctuality, you'll receive it. If you require consideration, you'll get it. If you require respect, you'll command it. If you require nothing, you'll receive nothing. Establishing royal treatment protocols means clearly communicating your standards through your actions rather than your words. When she's late, you leave. When she cancels, you make other plans. When she disrespects you, you remove your presence. When she takes you for granted, you make yourself scarce. These aren't punishments, they're natural consequences. They're not games, they're boundaries. They're not manipulations, they're standards. You're not trying to control her behavior. You're controlling your own responses to her behavior. The woman who experiences these natural consequences begins to understand the cost of poor treatment. She learns that disrespecting you results in losing access to you. She discovers that taking you for granted leads to you being taken by someone else. She realizes that treating you like a servant results in you abdicating the throne. Subscribe to this channel if you're ready to stop accepting poor treatment and start commanding royal treatment. Hit that notification bell because the journey from servant to king requires consistent reinforcement of these principles. The crown doesn't make the king makes the crown meaningful. Your worth isn't determined by how she treats you. Her treatment of you is determined by the worth you assign yourself. The moment you start operating from your inherent value, rather than seeking external validation of that value, everything changes. You stop asking for respect and start commanding it through your presence. You stop begging for attention and start attracting it through your purpose. You stop chasing love and start creating the conditions where love chases you. You stop trying to earn your place in her life and start requiring her to earn her place in yours. The woman who encounters a man operating from this level of self-knowledge has no choice but to respond accordingly. She can't use manipulation tactics that don't work on him. She can't take advantage of insecurities he doesn't have. She can't exploit needs he's already fulfilled within himself. She must bring her best self to earn access to his best self. She must demonstrate value to receive value. She must show respect to gain respect. She must treat him like a king because he's already crowned himself as one. The transformation from being treated like a servant to being treated like a king doesn't happen because you demand different treatment. It happens because you become a different man, one whose very presence commands the respect that his previous presence failed to inspire. That's how you make her treat you like a king, not by demanding royal treatment, but by becoming the kind of man for whom royal treatment is the only appropriate response. The crown was always yours, you just needed to remember how to wear it.